Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with Dave's Faves, number, 108. We're getting up there. It's really cool. And today I want to talk to you about possibly the greatest French symphony of the 20th century. I speak of Albert Roussel's Symphony number 2. Now, I'll never forget the first time I heard this. It was this performance. This is with Jean Martinon and the Orchestre Nationale de l'ORTF. Yeah, the old Orchestre Radio et Télévision Français, whatever, Radio Diffusion. It's a long French name that nobody bothers with, hence ORTF. Doesn't matter. The performance is magnificent, and in this particular disc, it comes with the Spider's Feast, the complete ballet, which is also just an amazing work. But that's not the main item. The main item is Symphony number 2, and I will never forget reading the notes to another very good performance, which was Christoph Eschenbach's on Ondine, where he wrote a little note saying, gee, this might just be one of the great symphonies of the 20th century. It's like, yeah, no kidding, Sherlock. It is amazing. The second symphony is a 3-movement work, a big 3-movement work. It lasts, like 40 minutes or something like that? Let's see, what is it? It's like 15, 9, and 14. Yeah, it's 40 minutes plus a bit. And it's in the grand Frankian tradition. 3 movements with a sort of scherzo / slow movement-y type thing in the middle movement, and it begins with a big slow introduction, and it commits the ultimate crime. It ends quietly. But it isn't just that it ends quietly, because the piece, although it's in cyclical form, once it gets hopping, you get a tune which occurs in all 3 movements. That tune is yam ba da ba da dum ba da da, yam ba da 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 dum ba da da, yam ba da da dum ba da dum ba da 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 da. It's rather easy to remember. It's quite catchy. It's actually very similar to the tune that Roussel uses as the cyclical motive in his 3rd symphony, which is yam bum bum ba crash. He used motives like that as constructive and mnemonic devices to help guide you through the labyrinth of his symphonic thought, which is quite considerable. It's quite a labyrinth in the 2nd symphony. One of the reasons I think, aside from the fact that it ends quietly, is that it's an extremely austere symphony. When it was first performed in Paris, it was considered shocking, because French symphonists even they were used to using big orchestras, voluptuous orchestras, in a very sensual and kind of colorful way. And this symphony has plenty of color, granted, and its share of sensuality. It's French. There's no question that it's French. But it begins with a long, slow introduction. And there's another motive in there. Ya, da, 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 da. That's another motive that pops up throughout the symphony. And, once we hear these things, they're presented in such it's almost Brahmsian, I would say, except the orchestration is so not Brahmsian, but it's disciplined. It's austere. It's restrained. It's all the things that French music is usually not. And although by German standards, this symphony is just a riot of color, it really is. It's very, very, very focused on the motivic working out of its symphonic ideas. And there are large stretches of great, what I would call dissonant stillness. It's, orchestration scoring just for the string section, and the harmonies are quite astringent and acerbic. It's not the kind of symphony that may make you fall in love at first hearing. I did, I'm sorry, but I'm strange. I'm just strange that way. It's a tough, somewhat gnarly, challenging work, but one that's, oh my God, it's so rewarding if you accept the challenge. And the 2nd movement begins with one of the great tunes ever written. It's wonderful. It's a pastoral, and it's such a lovely melody, and it never comes back the same way twice. which makes you crazy. Oh, it's just fabulous. So I just fell in love with this piece. It is one of my absolute favorite pieces of French music, and this performance by Martinon on Erato was one of my favorite ever performances of anything by anybody. And oh my goodness, when I had the LP, it was on Erato, as I said. And when CDs came out, I mean, we just do. I mean, forget it. When were we ever going to hear it? But eventually, there was a Martinon Roussel box that came out in Japan that had all the ballets and this, and I think it actually had, it was all, I think it was all Martinon. And there were some other things that were on Erato as well. There was Charles Munch doing the Third Symphony and whatnot. So there was some good stuff to be gotten. I still have that Japanese issue over in the overflow room. But since then, some other versions have been issued. And of course, this is in the big Erato Martineau box, which I talked about fairly recently. But I can only ask that you give this symphony a shot and just be completely open-minded to what it has to say. At first listening, there may be some long stretches where you think nothing much is happening. And like I said, and the harmonies are kind of astringent. You don't know where it's going, but it all takes shape. And once you get to know it, you will be so rewarded. As it's just one of the most glorious pieces of music. And it really established, I think, the French symphony as a thing, as a thing that is as rewarding and as intense and focused and musically dense and well thought out, while at the same time being French, as any work in the German repertoire. It really is one of the great pieces in the symphonic medium. And Martinon's recording has never been bettered. There are other very good ones out there. Don't get me wrong, I've talked about them. But this still is an amazing performance of an amazing work. And I mean, it's well recorded. It's not fabulous, but it's very good. And it's just one of the treasures of my personal collection. So keep on listening, friends. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care.